So I've come to talk to you about Dark City. Arrow Video has just released a 4K transfer of the film, and it's beautiful. But in there is also this hour-long retrospective, and it was really, really interesting. Dark City, if you're watching this, chances are you know what it is. But it came out in 1998, a year before The Matrix. And the reason I bring up The Matrix is they share similar themes, but approach it from opposite ends of the spectrum. I originally first came across Dark City, and I'm saying this, but in response to a comment that was made in the film, I think it was by Lim Dobbs, I'm not sure, but he said that anytime somebody approaches him about Dark City, he's never met anyone who actually saw it when it was in its theatrical run. I actually did. And I was 27, 28 when it came out. I went and saw it with a couple of friends of mine. But what I remember more so about seeing it theatrically was we had gone previously, like a year before, to see Mortal Kombat 2, the follow-up to the Paul W.S. Anderson film. And, you know, we liked the first movie, so let's go see number 2. Well, a trailer at the beginning, as trailers are, there were a number of trailers before the film started, and one of them was the very well-known Dark City trailer, which does not have a line of dialogue, but it has a piece of music called Sleep Now, and it shows scenes from the film, and there's text up on the screen from the visionary director of The Crow, Enter a World of Dark Imagination and stuff. But I remember seeing this trailer and being in awe. I was so struck by it. And that's happened a couple of times. I'm sure it's happened with you, where you're seeing a trailer and you know the movie you're about to see, but you're like, I really wish I was seeing this movie. And that was never more true than Dark City. Because I love The Crow. If I have a top 5 list of films, it's one of my favorite films. The first couple of movies by Alex Proyas are amazing. The Crow and Dark City. I was really excited to see Dark City. So, fast forward several months, and it finally gets released. And me and a couple of buddies of mine, we go and see the film. And like I told my granddaughter, I floated out of the theater after seeing Dark City. I was so taken with it. And I saw it one more time, and then it was out of theaters. I just went and saw it by myself. It was out of theaters. And I really loved the film. I didn't know really why, though. It was one of those things. I really didn't know why I loved it. I just know that it struck me. And the score by Trevor Jones is obviously a big part of it. Kiefer Sutherland's in it, and he was so not Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, there's no 24 yet or anything. He's David from The Lost Boys. He's just, Kiefer Sutherland was very, very cool. And he was playing this completely opposite character. Never heard of Rufus Sewell. And of course, Jennifer Connelly. This is one of the first times I had seen her in a film where it didn't seem like she was being sexualized. I mean, even in Labyrinth, there's an idea of it. But even though she's this kind of sultry lounge singer in this kind of noir mystery, she's very... I honestly think it was lightning in the bottle. They got the cast that they did. And I absolutely love the film. The 4K transfer is brilliant. Some of the things that were talked, and they don't have it online, and I'm not going to put any scenes from the Arrow video, because one of the things about Arrow is you get these singular packages that are limited runs and they're just yours, and eventually they'll post it. But I highly recommend, if you can get a chance to check out the 4K, there's this hour-long Return to Dark City. There's a thing that talks about visual effects and things of that nature. And the transfer itself is beautiful. It's got a couple of new audio commentaries on it. One of the best things about the DVD when it originally came out was there was an audio commentary by Roger Ebert that is like a masterclass in filmmaking. He did another one for Citizen Kane that I highly recommend. And there is a new audio commentary. I have not listened to it yet, but there is a new audio commentary, the 2025 version, where Alex Proyas actually talks about the film, so I'm very much looking forward to that. On the original DVD, there was an audio commentary by people who worked on the film, Patrick Tatopoulos, and that, talking about the ideas behind Dark City, how they entertained it, how it originally started out as Sleepwalker and went through all these incarnations of the names. Not on the 4K in the documentary is the thing that is kind of known if you're a fan of Dark City, which is the reason I brought it The Matrix before. I love The Matrix, to be true. Sitting to my right on this shelf, I have different incarnations of The Matrix. I have it starting all the way back from when the DVD came out to the 4K releases and the special box. I even got a couple of Funko Pops. I love The Matrix. I think it's a great trilogy. I really do. But Dark City is a singularly better film, in my opinion, because it approaches the subject matter without beating you over the head with a sledgehammer. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, when The Matrix came out, and I was with a couple of friends of mine, and we went and saw it, and we went back to this townhouse, and we all hung out. And you talk about it, and you initially talk about all, the overwhelming action, bullet time, and all this kind of stuff. But as you talk about the film more, you realize you're getting into the ideas of philosophy. And you're not necessarily thinking you're talking about Plato or Socrates, the allegory of the cave, the great deceiver. You don't think you're talking about that. You're just having a conversation. But even with base philosophy 101, you realize that you're talking philosophy. When Dark City came out, I actually went with two other people. If I had gone to Dark City with the two people I went to The Matrix with, we probably would have had a similar conversation. The thing that's not brought up that Alex Proyas has actually talked about is Dark City actually sat on the shelf for like a year. When it came out in 98, it was ready to go, but they kept pushing it back and pushing it back. I mean, one, they were going to release it around this time, and then Titanic came out, and Titanic did such big business that they thought Dark City was just going to get lost in kind of all the hubbub, which, it eventually did. But in that era, a lot of movies did. The Postman, handful of movies that were supposed to be big movies just got lost because of Titanic. But to bring in The Matrix again, at the beginning of The Matrix, when Trinity is being pursued by local police and an agent, they're running across these rooftops. Those rooftops are reworked set pieces from Dark City. And Proyas actually talks about that while it was sitting on the shelf, New Line Cinema is tied in with Warner Brothers. That a producer from Dark City, unsaid, but somebody from Dark City showed the people who were making The Matrix
time. I was so clueless when it came to films. I thought that The Matrix was a sequel because it basically was.
So did I.
So what was that like when you went to see it? And everything from the lighting to the camera shots to the fucking costume designs to the score, that it was so similar to what you'd already made.
Well, it's not a complete coincidence. My producer, who I no longer work with, actually, one of the producers worked on Dark City and also suspiciously worked on The Matrix as well. And they got to see, Dark City was when we made Dark City, it was so poorly received by test audiences. You know how you do test screenings for films, right? Everyone has to do a test screening. We were received so poorly in test screenings. People had no idea what the fuck this thing was, that we had to actually go back into the cutting room and recut it. And literally, Dark City sat on the shelf for maybe a year or more after it was completed before they released it. I actually shot Dark City in 1996, in fact, and virtually it was finished it was well and truly finished by 97 and released in 98. And so, to my chagrin, this producer showed my film without my permission, of course, to the people who were making The Matrix, and they used, I think, a lot of they nicked a bunch of elements. They even shot on. There was a set that we built towards the end of Dark City that they actually ended up shooting some of their stuff, some of the Matrix stuff on. It was my set. I designed it and I built it. And of course, all this stuff, you don't want to say this stuff to too many people. And I've sort of been mum over the years because people think of it as sour grapes. They go, oh, you just Matrix did better than Dark City, etc. But there was a lot of borrowing of elements, to be polite, from Dark City, and I think that probably answers a lot of why the films are so similar. I think conceptually we both films borrow from some other original sources, and perhaps that's a coincidental thing. But I think certainly from a visual point of view, there was very much of an influence, I think, on that, on the Matrix film from Dark City, and also from The Crow. In fact, The Crow. Let's not forget The Crow invented the sort of long trench coat, the leather trench coat. The leather trench coated superhero kind of character, as seen in Blade and The Matrix around that same time. So I think those two films have been very influential on others, whether the others admit it or not. Some do, some don't.
What was taken, though, is probably all the black leather. Definitely the sort of because the ambiance, and really, honestly, the color idea. I'm not saying that wasn't in the original Matrix script. It may have been. But there's so many things that once you start paying attention and realize that the Matrix kind of got to dip into Dark City before Dark City was even released, and kind of take what they wanted to use in their film, I don't think it would have affected the film one way or the other. I think the Matrix would have been the phenomenon it is, simply because the Matrix, at least the original, is a very marketable popcorn movie. When they showed that first teaser trailer during the Super Bowl, and you're seeing Keanu Reeves, flip back and the bullet times and dodging the bullets, and this whole idea, there was something to kind of sink your teeth into. Like, okay, this is going to be an action sci-fi film, guns. It looks really entertaining. Like I said, bullet time, Keanu Reeves doing martial arts and then dodging bullets. No matter how good or bad the movie is, that's going to get you to go. But Proyas actually talks about the fact that they dipped into the Dark City cookie jar for the Matrix. Years on. So the Dark City comes out in 1998. Fasool, William Hurt, Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer, and of course Richard O'Brien as Mr. Hand. Who else is going to be Mr. Hand, right? It's just, yeah. But it comes out in 98. A year later, you get the box office phenomenon that is The Matrix. And so not only was Dark City lost at the time, it kind of got lost in 99 and in 2000, to be honest, because of all the hubbub around The Matrix. And it's like, I mean, I remember at video stores after The Matrix came out, you would see movies like Existence and Equilibrium and stuff, and it was always better than The Matrix, better than The Matrix, better than The Matrix. And none of them are, but they're good movies. They exist in that world. Existence, very interesting, kooky movie. Equilibrium, phenomenal, fun movie with Christian Bale. I mean, just really cool movie. But Dark City, one of the other things I think about the film is the fact that I think it's the last we get to see of those kind of movies. The Matrix not only was a box office phenomenon, but it really kind of changed the way movies were made at that point. Dark City's not getting made today because, you know, there's not an IP associated with it. And so these kind of mid-tier, not independent, not tentpole movies, we've sort of lost them. I'm hoping we get back to that. I'm hoping that the movie industry has so self-annihilated between really kind of the woke message and spending, you know, $200 to $300 to $400 million on a movie to not gain any of it back. I really hope we've saturated that and we can get back down to streamlining movies and making really wonderful films that actually tell a story as opposed to that cell explosion. I mean, people give Michael Bay a hard time because they were like, well, it's all but explosions and hot girls. Well, these movies have been explosions and not so hot girls. But that's something else. So I wanted to talk about just the fact that Dark City had such a huge impact on me, just as one of the greatest films I had ever seen, and truly is one of the most beautiful movies you'll ever see. And that was actually something that was said in the documentary too, where they were like, well, when somebody doesn't understand a film, they'll just say it's kind of style over substance. And that kind of accusation was made about Dark City repeatedly, and I don't get that. It is all there's so much style, but there's so much substance. I'll say it for the third time. At least you get into the grittiness of The Great Deceiver and the allegory of the cave, but then is a movie that asks, what is it to be human? What is it? What is the soul? Is the soul something that we assign consciousness to? We were like, well, we're conscious that we are who we are, so we give ourselves a soul. Is that something? What is it to be human? What is it to feel a connection with another person that is intangible, and you can't describe it? I think it's an incredibly important film. And when my granddaughter she's 12, so I'm hoping I get to show it to her soon. But for such a beautiful movie, I'm glad that it gained an audience on home video. And I would love to see it in the theater again. The theater going experience has kind of lost its zeal for me, but whenever they do these showings of, like, they did a 25th anniversary showing of The Matrix, and my daughter and I went and saw that, and it was so great seeing it in the theater again. And they're doing Spinal Tap and Monty Python, and I would love to see one of Dark City. I would love to see the director's cut on screen. That would be pretty amazing. So anyway, thanks for listening to me yammer on about Dark City. See you in the next video.